Confidence is about how you see yourself. Welcome to the Uniquely Confident Podcast.
Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. This is your boy RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. And yes, this is another dope episode of the Uniquely Confident Podcast. Good people, what it do out there. I hope that you guys out there having a phenomenal day, which is going to turn into a week, month, and then equal out to a phenomenal year. Tonight, I'm excited because I got my homie, somebody I've been having a wonderful relationship now for almost about 2 years now, 2 or 3 years just about. And every time we come together, we have a dope conversation. So I'm super excited to have my man Chris Mcbride with us. Mcbride with tonight. I can't even speak. With me tonight. So check this out. Before I do anything, you know, around here, we got to do what we must do, which is talk to the man upstairs and pay a bill or two. So with that being said, Father God, we thank you for another opportunity to be in the space with you. We thank you for another opportunity to do what we do, God, which is be an encouragement to someone else in the time of need. Right now, we ask you to help us as we go across the airways. Help that we may be a powerful impact to someone right now, that they may be a better person, a better individual, not just for themselves, God, but for their communities and their families alike. So right now, God, these are our prayers to you in the Most High's name. Amen. So here we go. Around here, the bills that we must pay, we got to pay the ones that sponsor this good place. And tonight's sponsor of the podcast is those guys over at It's Now or Never Entertainment. So for all your music needs, guys, whether it be hip hop, R&B, gospel, you name it, this is a fabulous producer, and there's an awesome production company. So if you have any music needs, whether it be for your content, movies, you name it, he produces it. Holler at him over It's Now or Never ENT and let him know the Uniquely Confident Podcast sent you, and he'll give you 50% off on any beat in the beat store. That's 50% off. So it's half. So shop smart, shop black, shop It's Now or Never. Let them know we sent you over here at the Uniquely Confident Podcast. Now that that's done and out the way, yo, my man Chris Mcbride, what it do, King? How are you, bro?
Blessing and progressing, man. How about yourself?
Man, I am still breathing, so that means I am striving to be the best individual. So I'm excited about life, bro. Like I was just writing in my journal about how excited I am just today, bro. Like my excitement level for life now is at an all-time high. So I'm just bubbling right now, bro.
Good to see you. It's always a good thing, man. Likewise, man. Good to see you as well.
Yes, indeed. Glad to have you on the platform, bro. So we'll get right into it because as you know, our conversations jump off the rip. I had to press record right quick because we about to dive in before the podcast even got underway. So tonight, I just really want to have an open conversation just about your confidence level as a man now. You're embarking on another phase of life in the next few weeks. Next couple of weeks, and which is fatherhood. So congratulations on that as well, bro.
Thank you.
Now I want to talk to you a little bit about your character, right? What are some of the things about your character now that you realized as a man that you're going to be able to impart and teach your son right away?
That's an interesting question because a lot of times what my main focus have been in pertaining to my son is trying to get the things right that I don't want to impart into him. So I haven't really sat and thought about, I guess, the good part of me that I will put into him. Well, I mean, he'll get the habit of reading because, you know what I'm saying, I keep visualizing. I got a morning routine where I walk around and just read. I can't just sit and read. So I walk and read. So I got this little thing that I'm gonna be able to carry him in, and he's gonna be there like in all my morning sessions.
Yes.
Because my book is out there on the table. But in one of Dr. Kunjufu's books, he talks about, which is a phenomenal educating master or expert within the Black community, really within the African community. But he talks about how reading is really one of the most challenging things when it comes to African American males. And one of the issues with that is because he was talking about like in the 60s and all that stuff like that. By the time a boy went to elementary school, they knew their word bank was around like 650 words. Right. So they was like, now by the time that book came out, and that book came out probably early 2000s, maybe in the 90s. But by the time that book came out, the number had dropped from 650 all the way down to like 142.
What?
So that is so that's the challenge, and why Black boys have been not able to read is because their word bank has gotten smaller by the time they go to school. So they said the number one overwhelming factor when it comes to Black boys reading is too many words that they don't know. So thinking about, but how he was saying the remedy to that is constantly reading to them and constantly repeating the same words over and over and over and over and over and over again to them in different ways so they can get familiar with these words first. And then after they get familiar, then they'll be able to get the context of what the word is, but they got to get familiar with the words first. So when you ask what are one of the things that I would be able to impart in my son, what comes to mind is my natural habit of reading, because he's going to be present at every morning session that I have from now on. You know what I'm saying? So, well, when he gets here.
Right.
So that habit of having a high word bank, I feel like by the time he goes to school, he's gonna, because even it gave a strategy within 3 years, you'll be able to get him up to 1,200 words. So it's all about just introducing them to the words, getting them familiar, do it like 400 at a time, and then stack the 400 on to the next section. So now it's 800 words that they're used to. And then he talked about like creating stories that only use those 800 words and just keep reading the stories to them over and over again. Then once they got a familiarity with those set of words, you add another 400 onto it, create a whole nother new set of stories. Now this one got 800 or 1,200 words to it. And you just keep building stories like that that use specific words that you want them to learn along the way. So that's one of the things that I feel like I'll really be able to impart to him. Uh, Controlling your emotions, I feel like that's another thing, being able to help him challenge and process his emotions at a very young age, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, rage, jealousy, envy, any of these type of things. Being able to articulate his emotions,
Yes.
um, being able to receive criticism, being able to apply criticism,
Yes.
quite a few things. Not to keep talking too long, but yeah, quite a few things.
No, I'm glad you mentioned those things, because what we fail to do, and I think even myself, I've learned that you can't wait until you think they can understand. And I think that's what happens, especially in our community. We wait until we feel like that child or our children can understand what we're telling them. But it's not there. It's not our job to get them to understand it. It's our job to get them familiar with it. And when you said that just now, I'm like, wow, like it's so crazy, because the reason why I'm asking you this question is because I was asked it recently, and I'm like, yo, I don't even know what I'm like applying to his life right away, and I had to really think about that. But it's all about too where your children at. My son right now, he just turned 4, and he's just now being able to use some of his more of his vocabulary. So now I'm at the space where we're able to have a conversation going back and forth. It's like, oh, okay. I had to remind myself, this is the space where I got to teach you now. Like, I can't be so caught up in the awe of it to realize like, oh, time is going to pass if I do not just apply and teach you what's needed to be teach. And honestly, at this stage of the game, the only I can teach him that he understands really is presence, right? And also following directions. Like literally, like when I show him things, I show him as I'm doing it. Like I've learned that myself personally, they don't learn at all by what you tell them. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do. So my son, he hated, you hear me, brushing his teeth in the morning. I'm talking about, I couldn't get this kid to brush his teeth in the morning to save my life. My wife would fight with him every morning. And then I said to myself, I wonder why. What's with this no brushing the teeth thing? And then I thought back to the potty, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Does he have to see me do it? So I started in the morning, instead of brushing my teeth in my bathroom and making it part of my ritual and then waking him up. I wake him up and I bring him into my morning ritual. So once he sees me brushing my teeth, it was like, oh, you do that. Okay, so I'm going to do it. Now, forget about it. Like I give him his toothbrush, his toothpaste, he brushes, he's ready to go. But it takes him seeing it. So that's the one thing I can say, like, from a young dad to a newer dad, just show it more than you tell it.
Facts.
Like,
And even to tie on to that point, because it was talking about in that same book, and you know what I'm saying, it's kind of
yo, you
all
gotta give
flowing
me
to me as you're talking.
you
I'm gonna
gotta
show you to you as soon as we finish. But it talked about how back in the 60s, the order of influence when it came to children was the number one thing was like parents or the home. Then it was like maybe church, then it was like school, then it was like something else, peer groups, then it was, I can't remember the last one. But flip it to modern day, and the peer group is the number one. Then it's like television. Then it may be like the home, but I feel like it was another one before home. But church had fell all the way down to the bottom, and then the home was the second to the bottom and everything.
wow.
And so it's like all of these influence, but TV was damn near number one. And the issue with TV, it ties to your point with what you say, what he's more influenced by what he sees than what we say. So when we're watching all these TV shows and they're acting out all these scenes, that is what really goes into their mind. So it got me really cautious of what I will let him watch, because a lot of these TV shows put suggestions inside of the content or the media by acting out certain scenes that have you um having this entitlement feeling, or having you feeling like it's okay to be obese, or having you questioning your sexuality and making you
Right.
desire another person, having you look down at your parents, being judgmental towards your parents. Like, it will have all these different suggestions that goes into the mind, and like you said, if they see it, that can outweigh what I tell them. So
Absolutely.
just really guarding what goes on in his mind, because another thing, especially with kids, they don't have a conscious mind. So we have the conscious mind, and so it acts as a barrier to our belief systems. It stops us from just being so susceptible to any idea. But
Right.
the issue is, when you're a kid, you don't have that. So
Correct.
you're a complete subconscious. So you're just absorbing everything. So when we got all these different suggestions that's coming in through TV shows, social media, all these other stuff, the kid can't object or deny any of that stuff. It just goes in to accept it. And we never know, once it's in the subconscious mind, what actual idea each kid will act upon. That's why I feel like you got a lot of kids that's questioning sexuality and doing all these other things, is because so many suggestions go in there. And it's almost like the garden, man. Once it take, you can't do.
You got to uproot it, and that's some real work. Like, to uproot
Facts.
a belief system, and like you were just the analogy, uprooting a root. It's not easy, and it's not on the surface level. It takes some real digging and going in and really pulling and doing the necessary work that's necessary. But in order to avoid that, that's what we're talking about right now. To be in avoid, especially in these young boys' lives, like, it's so important. Me and a good friend of mine used to talk about this all the time. We would always say it's important environment you create for your child to live in. So I make sure with my wife, there's no negative energy. We're not arguing throughout the days, right? Because this is what our children see. And one thing I've learned too is, like, they're like we are. If the present is positive, they'll be within that. But the one negative, they'll pick up. So the other day, me and my wife was doing something, and she was in the far end of the house, and she called me. So I screamed back, "Babe, I'm coming. Just give me a second." But I yelled, obviously, so she can hear me. When I went into the other room, I called Imani, and she started calling my son and screaming, "Joe, come here!" And I'm like, "Oh." It takes just one instant, because I never really scream across the house. I always go and see what it is, because that's what I believe. Like, I don't believe you're supposed to scream from one side of the house to see what's going on. You're supposed to get up and go see. So I realized, I'm like, oh, as many times as I've just gotten up and doing it, she's picked up on the one time and realized, oh, he screamed through the house. So I said to myself, oh, it's not about also too what you teach them, but what being consistent in it, because they'll pick up those negative habits if you allow them to be shown.
Facts. I agree with that. And I also, that's another thing, because my son's not even here yet, but that comes to mind all the time. I remember one time, we might have been 3 weeks pregnant or something. It was very early on in the pregnancy, but he's always been checking kind of like my personal behavior since we found out he's been pregnant. We've been pregnant. So I remember I was driving Lyft, and this was, like I said, this was probably 7 months ago. I don't know. It's a while ago. And, like, this lady just was almost like I was supposed to drop her off at the airport or whatever, but she was like almost expecting me to grab her bags or something. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I wasn't rude, I wasn't disrespectful or anything, but I was just like, you know what I'm saying? That's not like, I'm here to pick you up from one place to the other. You know what I'm saying? This ain't no chauffeur service where I'm coming out getting your bags. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you put your own bags in there. You can ask me, but to sit up there and expect me to do it, that's not what this is.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like, and so I remember driving off, like, granted, I ended up getting her bags and all, because she ended up asking me and all, but afterwards, as she's still in the car, I'm kind of replaying that in my head. And I'm like, damn, if my son would have seen that,
right.
what would he would have taken away from that? Because, like you said, when it comes to my girl and everything like that, we don't be arguing, we don't be on any of that stuff. So it's always peaceful around here. So I a lot of times be thinking just because he sees how I treat her and how I'm gonna treat him, because even my nieces and nephews, I got 5 nieces and nephews. I've never yelled, I never cussed at them. For some reason, my temperament is always completely controlled when it's around them.
Right.
So I know that that's definitely going to translate to my son too. But then when it comes to other people,
Right.
like how will he see me treat other people? What will be my temperament towards strangers and everybody else that's like around? And I'm like you said, it only takes really that one time to get in there.
Right.
So it just really always be having me thinking like, damn, if my son was to witness that, my son was to see that, would I want him to emulate what
Mm.
I just did? Would I want him to repeat the behavior that I just did? And a lot of times that keeps me in check. You know what I'm saying? Because again, he's not even here yet, and I'll be having that type of conversations in my head and everything.
Man, and you're ahead of the game, bro. And let me tell you, on a lighter note, you better get your sleep now. I know you probably heard that, but trust me when I tell you, if you want sleep and you value it, get it now.
Hey, shout out to Grandma Binky. My girl's mom is actually gonna come and stay with us for the first 2 weeks and everything for that particular reason. She was like, "Yeah, just so y'all can get some sleep and everything." And so
That's
everybody keeps saying that.
big, bro. Like, let me tell you, like, and for me, my daughter was born. I was working the overnight, right? I was doing the overnight shift at the time for an airport, and it was exciting, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know the feeling right now, just anticipating everything, just trying to make sure she's as calm and as relaxed as possible, and just doing the necessary things. And I just remember just trying to remember, like, all right, to do this, to do that, to do this, to that. And everybody kept telling me, like, yo, stop being so worried about doing things right now, because I was trying to get Pampers stacked up. I was trying to I was trying to do all these things that just always on the go. And they kept saying, yo, just sit and enjoy your quiet time. Sit and enjoy your sleep, because what we don't realize is before we have children and before we get in the mode that we find that we have children, we don't really take the time to enjoy our peace. We don't take the time to really stop and enjoy and rest and then really good sleep. But once that's gone, you think back like, oh, I had I used to get great sleep. Like I used to get good rest. So the long tale that I've heard from everybody, and then I had to pass it on to you, is do your best right now to get yourself some sleep and get your queen some sleep, because once that baby gets here, and after those 2 weeks is over, oh yeah, you're gonna look for sleep and you're not gonna be able to find
Facts. The
it.
good thing is that like, oh, I feel a benefit that me and my girl have is like our sleep schedules are like completely different. So
Mm,
me, I'm like a hardcore, like extreme early bird. So I can get up and be fully alert anywhere from like 1 in the morning to like 3, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like fully alert and ready for the rest, like, and I'm up the rest of the day.
wow.
And but at night I get sleepy. That's why, you know what I'm saying, even at this 8:30 thing, you know what I'm saying? This is pushing my bedtime because I usually get mad tired around this time. But again, because I'm up super early.
Right.
So, but my girl, she is more active a little bit at night
That's
and
me.
less active in the morning. So it's like it kind of balances out where, you know what I'm saying, when the baby's up, you know what I'm saying, after 1 or something like that, then I'm fully alert, you know what I'm saying? So he could be in here with me while I'm up doing everything, while she can fully relax. Then by the time I get a little bit tired and all that stuff, she's waking up, so she fully recharged. And so I feel like that might help us out a little bit. I definitely feel like we're gonna still run into challenges, but I feel with my sleep schedule being so unorthodox, I think it'll help.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, when you already had that type of sleep schedule, then you are ahead of the game. Because if you're not a dependable, like I used to be a dependent on 8 hours, like you know what I'm saying, 7, 8 between the hours of 11 to the hours of 11 to 7 hours sleep. But going to the night job and then having her, I used to crawl in the house, kid. No lie, I used to crawl in my bedroom because that's where the crib was at. Army crawl past her crib to try to slide in my bed so she wouldn't know. I could just like pretend to be mom's and sleep. Nope. The moment she look over her crib and realize I was in there, she go nuts. So
Oh man.
literally, I went from working from 11 at night till 7 in the morning, and then I didn't go to bed until about 5 in the afternoon. By the time my wife got home from work, So I got like
Wow.
4 hours sleep every single day, bro, for the first 2 years of our life. 4 hours of sleep. Yo, no lie. I remember falling asleep at the light and an officer knocking on the window, waking me up. He was like, "Yo, do you know how long you've been at this light?" I was like, "No, officer, I don't." He's like, "Yo, you slept through 2 light cycles." I was like, "Wow." He's like, "Are you intoxicated?" I was like, "No, I'm just extremely tired. I haven't slept in days. Like I'm on the way to get a haircut right now, so I can go to work in a few hours." He was like, "No, you need to go home." And that's what I did that day. I had to call out of work. That I had no other choice because I was
Yeah.
exhausted. So I just going back and reflecting on that. It's like, yo, it's so much fun because there's so little and there's so much to do. But trust me, your self-care time is going to be necessary. Don't let that slack.
No, facts. That's why I was even talking to one of my clients this morning. He was working through some challenges and everything like that. And I was telling him the time shift itself, because that's one of the reasons why I get up so early, is because bad habits kick in at night.
Right,
So if I go to bed before my bad habits kick in, before my demons wake up, you know what I'm saying? And then super early in the morning really ain't no bad, you know what I'm saying? Right when you wake up, you really don't be, you know what I'm saying,
right,
wanting to
right,
masturbate or do any of the negative things and all that stuff like that. So
right,
time shifting and everything like that really kind of helped me be able to keep my self-care at an ultimate high, because the first thing I'm doing when I'm waking up, you know what I'm saying, it ain't like I'm going to work. It's like I'm doing things that I got to do for me.
right.
So I think that discipline that I've had, shoot, probably even since college, you know what I'm saying? I'm probably like 15 years strong in that discipline. I think that will definitely, I don't think that'll ever go anywhere. Like, I think I've gotten that so deep in my brain.
Right. It's a
Like,
part of
it's now it's uncomfortable. Yeah. When I don't, you know what I'm saying? When I don't do that, I'll be feeling like compelled and I can't even sit still if I haven't, you know what I'm saying, poured into myself, or I haven't done my little morning rituals and all that stuff like that. So I'm
that's
grateful for that habit.
that's fire because like my wife will tell you like I'm not the same. Like the days that I come out of my office or my room and I wake up and just run into the day, I'm nowhere near the same. My temperament is different. I'm way edgier, right? And I don't have patience. There is none on those days. Like I'm so quick to snap, and it's all because I haven't centered myself. Like, and this is why I say it's so important for every man. Like whether you are in a relationship, creating a family, whatever stage of your life you are at, is important to you. Before you give anyone your day, you got to give yourself your first fruit. And that's why
Facts.
I call it giving yourself your first fruit in the morning. Because when you wake up, no one else deserves that attention between you and God. Because if you don't have that tension, I mean, I'm sorry, that special time between you and God, you're liable to have anything happen in your day and you not be ready for it.
Facts. You can't expect good feelings to show up. You got to generate them within and then
That,
carry them throughout the whole day. And it's funny because it's like taking the time out in the morning, because the reason why I do it in the morning is because willpower, funny, we was just talking about this with my client as well. Willpower is like a limited resources, right? So it's like just like you put gas in the car and that can only get you a certain amount of places
mhm.
before it shuts down. Exact same thing with your willpower. So you got a fresh tank every day when you wake up. At the morning is the height of your willpower, but you constantly depleted all day managing your kids, going to work, not snapping on people. If you can't be on your phone at work, you resisting the fact of pulling out your phone or checking your social media or texting that person back or whatever it is. Then you get home and you're completely depleted. So a lot of times what looks like laziness is often exhaustion. So a lot of people
Mhm.
are like, oh, I want to go to the gym. I want to go to the gym. I'm gonna go after work. But you depleted all your willpower all throughout the day. So then when you get home, you look lazy, but you're really exhausted because you ran your tank empty of your willpower. So that's why I tell people you want to pour into you first thing in the morning. Use all your willpower for
Right,
pushing yourself forward and then let the world get whatever is left. Don't give the world all your good willpower and then give yourself whatever is left over. That's moving backwards. You can't pour from an empty cup. So I always, the first thing I do with my willpower is pour my cup, make sure I'm filled, and then the world, my job, all the other stuff like that can get whatever else. Now that's not saying that I'm gonna do a lousy job on my job and all that, or you know what I'm saying, I'm not gonna perform good, but it is saying that what gets my freshest energy is stuff that I have to do for myself. So getting up every morning, I read, I meditate, I go to the gym, I come back, I read again. I'm in the studio and I'm recording, I'm streaming, I'm editing, I'm doing everything I got to do. So by the time even 8 o'clock hit, like literally, if I didn't do anything else for me, I didn't did damn near a whole shift worth of work.
Right. Right. And let me tell you something about that morning work. Like it's something about the stillness of that morning, right? Like that timing. And like I was even doing some reading and some research. It's something about the hours between 4:30 and 5:30 in the morning that something happens in the atmosphere that's like almost electric. So like if anything that you're working on is supercharged in that hour of the morning, it's so crazy. The guru, I forgot his name, the Indian guru. I was just watching.
Sangahi or
Yes. I knew you knew. I know you knew.
said got his little book right here.
Hey, you know this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yo, he was breaking that down, and I was like, okay. Like, and ever since I've heard him say that, I've been paying attention and actually waking up at like 4:30 just to feel what that feels like. And whatever I think about, bro, in that hour of the morning, whatever I go to create has been flourishing. Like my content has been just been coming out. Like I created in that time of the morning, and that focused energy and that drive that's present at that time of hour, and the silence. Because even right now, you can hear my wife and my children are running around, and TV's on. It's so much energy moving around the house right now. But it's something about that quietness and that still peace that provides some kind of dynamic energy that's I really been feeding off for the last couple of days, bro.
No, facts. I think that it's a huge thing to that. And then again, it's like thoughts are things, right? So thoughts are also frequency. This is why, like, you could be in the same room with somebody and a song hit your head, and you start humming, and they like, damn, nigga, I was just thinking that song in my head. I was just thinking that. Or you could be having a random thought and you verbalize, they be like, damn, I was just thinking the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's because thoughts are frequency. So thoughts aren't our own, right? You know what I'm saying? So the thing with that is that the reason why, in my opinion, why it's better to think in those morning times is because when the rest of the world is asleep, the only thing that's really shut off when you sleep is your conscious mind.
Right. Correct.
Subconsciously, everything else is still going. So what's all in your conscious mind? Your thoughts.
Right.
So since the world is sleep, or everybody around us is sleep, there's not thoughts going out into the world like it all throughout the day. So it's like busy. So even throughout the day, if you try to sit still, it could be a little bit more challenging because it's so much activity going out. Because again, thoughts are just mental projections.
Right.
You can't see them, but it's just like a microwave, a TV wave, a sound wave. It's still happening, and we can still be affected by it, just like we could be affected by a cosmic wave, a microwave, all these other things. So it's like they're going all out throughout the day. So in those morning times when the world is asleep, remember the conscious mind is shut.
Right.
It's shut down. So it ain't all these broadcasts going out for people's thoughts. So you have more, I believe, less static to be able to receive those good thoughts that come from God. So you're not cluttered with all the other noise and the static noise of everybody's thoughts around you. You more in tune because I feel like it's less clogged. You know what I'm saying? Or at least that's my understanding of it.
No, and I'm glad you said that, because first of all, the way you understand something is how you understand it, and like people get so caught up in trying to tell someone how to understand it. Like that's the way you understand it, and my thought process is the same way. Like when I think to myself of that peace and quiet, I think that there's no one that's creating a distraction, right? Like and like that's basically what it is, like the distraction of everyday life, and then you think about it. I think about this too, like. In that hour of the day, like I'm giving God my first thoughts. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm allowing him to have his entire way with my mind at that point. Because I'm not giving myself no space to allow emails, social media, anything to attack me in that time, because I'm not even addressing it. It's dark, it's still quiet. I come to my office or I'm in my room, and I'm just having that time. And to me, it allows me to really, really check that engine light. You know what I'm saying? Like if the check engine light is on, that's my real time to see, why is my check engine light? Let me check this machine. And like then I give myself like especially like after the last few weeks, bro, I had opportunity to go and do personal security for Tony Robbins. I could say that now because the time has elapsed. But yes, I had opportunity to do an event and do work as security, and I learned so much about controlling my own personal energy, bro. It's almost like a cheat code. Like even before this podcast, I was jumping, doing my mantra, getting my energy together, and just working on my posture, and just my thoughts, and just clear them up because I was running through the day and getting myself active to come here and do this. But after my entire day and hustling and bustling, I had to center my thoughts and my energy. And now knowing how to do that, oh man, it's a total different energy, a vibe of being able to control my energy and control myself in this space. Because before that event, coming to do this podcast, I would have still brought the same hustle energy. Yo, Chris, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man? Yo, man, I've been running all day. Nah, that's not my energy right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I now know how to control it. And let me tell you, bro, I love it. I love it, bro.
No, facts. And that's one of the greatest skills that really as a man that you can have is being able to control just what's going on emotionally and being able to get back centered. That's actually one of the gauges that they tell as far as mental well-being, because how quick you can get back centered, because life is life. So we will always get pulled. But
Absolutely.
again, the measure of how good your well-being is or how good your self-control is, how quick when you get pulled away from zero, how quick can you bring yourself back to zero?
Correct.
They also say, you know what I'm saying, you can tell the measure of a man by the size of the problems that get him down. All same thing, you know what I'm saying? How easily are you pulled off your square and everything? And then again, how quick can you pull yourself back? I was listening, and it's funny, Dr. Umar be wild, but one thing that he said that's really helped me out was 3 things when it comes to behavior: the frequency of it, the intensity of it, and the duration of it. So
Wow.
when those emotions come, whether it's anxiety, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whatever it is, how you can gauge whether it's healthy or whether it's a problem or not is the frequency of it. Is this something that's happening all the time? You get triggered daily, hourly, weekly, whatever it is. What is the frequency of this particular behavior? Then you got, again, the intensity of it. When you get triggered, is it, you know what I'm saying, just a slight little irritation, or do niggas got to stay away from you for nigga until you calm the hell down? Niggas don't even want to be in your environment. I remember I was just helping my girl's grandma move, and one of her cousins, who, if you don't know her, you know what I'm saying, you can kind of be put off by her personality. I was when I first met her, but then as I've known her, I've grown to, you know what I'm saying, really understand her. And it was like in a nursing home that we was in, and it was this black dude that was old, that was just kind of sitting there, and we were moving the grandma, so we walking back and forth and everything. And so he was kind of, you could tell he was being friendly, but he was definitely annoying. And so the cousin had said she was in front of me, so she was walking, and he said something to her, and I couldn't hear what she said, but I just know her, so I know it's probably like a smart remark. And his response was, "I'm sorry I even said anything." Like, and I could tell he didn't know, you know what I'm saying? He didn't know her, so that's how he reacted like that. But that is intensity, you know what I'm saying? Like, how intense is it to the point where it's just like, damn, niggas don't even want to
Be in your environment, right?
and even say nothing to you. And then it's the duration. Like, is it just something happened and then 10 minutes later you cool? Or is it just, again, you holding on to it for a whole week? And just, like, how quick can you get back to zero and let it go? So that's something that I gauge, and I try to help my clients gauge with that as well. Because a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, it's hard to see the picture when you're standing in the frame. So we could beat ourselves up because we're not looking at ourselves accurately. So that's why I try to give them that frame. So it's like, all right, yeah, that might happen, but you know what I'm saying, it only happens once every 6 months. So don't be beating yourself on it. Then when it does, you know what I'm saying, it ain't super, super intense, and it don't last long. Now, again, if this was happening all the time and it was super intense, so it's about to ruin all your relationships, and it's lasting all day long, so again, it's about to ruin your relationship, then we will have to deal with it. But we're all human, so everybody's gonna have something we doing every now and then that make other people feel some type of way.
And let me tell you something, bro. Like I am guilty of it, and like I'm one to admit it. Everybody knows I'm transparent as possible. I'm guilty of it, bro. Like, especially within the last 2 years, I've been seeing myself with the frequency oh my goodness, like it was almost weekly. Something can piss me off, like it, and literally can, and then the intensity of it is like, ah man, like I don't, like you said, nobody wants to even talk to me, like, and like I almost enjoy it, like it's almost like a pleasure at that point, like nah, leave me alone, say nothing to me, and then I would literally be in that for maybe about a day or two, and I can literally hold it for a day. Like I'm like 24 hours of my life has went past, and I'm sitting on holding something that's nonsense. And then for me being able to see that, bro, literally, I've learned that the flaws that I'm actually being able to see are the things I'm able to help my clients with the most. Because, like you just said, once you realize, like your man has measured by the things that that cause you grief and how long you can bounce back from them. I said to myself, I'm allowing these minor things, right? And when you, like you said, get out of the picture, step out of the framework for a second, you look at what it's worth, you're like, I'm allowing this minor thing to derail my entire picture. My entire life is being derailed by this small, minute situation that in a few weeks I'm gonna forget even happened. And that right there became the most powerful tool in my mental toolbox of being able to get past certain issues and things that I feel like are holding me back. And I've even in the last 3 months, bro, I would say the hardest part of my personal development has been these last 3 months. Being able to see my weaknesses now at a level of understanding that I have now, and then being able to work on them, bro, has been some of the most tryingest times since October, literally. That's why, like, up until this last 2 weeks, you didn't see too much of my content rolling around. There wasn't too much of me on the internet because I literally was viewing myself now on a new level and being able to see what I didn't like. And man, let me tell you, it put me into a funk for a few weeks, bro. It threw me into a nasty spell.
It did, but that's only temporary because it's almost like I was telling my girl, it's almost like when you get shot, right? And in order to get better, they got to dig in there and grab a bullet. Now
Right.
that digging in that mug, that shit is painful. It's uncomfortable. It hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like it seemed like it's causing more damage. It seemed like temporarily it's getting worse.
Right.
But as soon as that bullet come out, that's when the real healing starts to happen. So I look at it as like ego's pruning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If an ego want to fly at a higher height, it got to let go of them wings that's holding it at a certain altitude or a certain level.
Correct.
But pruning, you know what I'm saying, picking out those feathers, that's difficult.
Yeah.
But that's temporary pain. You know what I'm saying? When I was joining my fraternity, one of the things we would always say is a few weeks of sacrifice for a lifetime in paradise.
Right.
Few weeks of sacrifice for a lifetime of paradise. So it's like, yeah, you went through a few weeks of sacrifice, but now that you got a grip on that particular thing, now you get a lifetime of not necessarily having to deal with that. Now, also with men, well, like one of my mentors were saying, he's about 60 years old right now. He was like, I'm 60 and I'm still fighting. He was like, we're always going to be fighting until the day that we die. So there's always going to be something we want to improve. Warren Buffett calls it disabling ignorance. So he said every day you shouldn't necessarily just only want to get wiser, but you should also want to become less dumber. So removing some type of disabling ignorance from you, a
Right.
limiting belief, some nonsense that you believe, whatever it is, but we should always be. So like when you're saying, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, because so many times, especially in this personal development world, people could just get so focused on just adding. Keep making your building taller, keep making your building taller. But what we know about real estate is sometimes, yeah, when you're trying to make a tall building, you got to go in and renovate.
Right.
And so times renovating is going into a structure that's already there and tearing out the things, gutting that thing out and re-putting good stuff in there. So it's not always just about adding. Sometimes it's about taking away. It's just like Steve Jobs said, where it's just like deciding what not to do is just as important as deciding what to do. Or Kenneth Cole said, success is less about getting yourself to do the things that you know you should and more about keeping yourself from doing the things that you know you shouldn't.
Right. Wow. I didn't even know Kenneth Cole said that one. That's powerful. And it's so true, bro. Like even on from a micro to a major level, like that's so true. It's not about adding a lot of times, especially when it comes to habits, bro. Like I've learned that especially helping my guys break some of the habits that we work through. it's not about stopping the habits. It's about replacing them. Because the truth of the matter, we're creatures of habit. So it's not like you can't just take something or add a new habit to your life. No, you have to replace it. So in order to become a better man, you have to learn what your bad habits were and then replace those habits with better ones. Like right
Right.
now, myself, you said earlier with the whole sexual frustration and masturbation. The way I counteract that with me is that I go to the gym. Like whenever I feel that urge or I feel like I should be doing something different. Now if I can't get to the gym, I get down and bust myself about 250 push-ups. By the time that's over and about 6 clips, I don't want to do nothing but sit down and relax. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's all about replacing the habits. And I think that's it's so important for us to realize that we can't just take things out of our lives or we can't just add them. We have to do those things the right way by removing and then replacing things.
Facts. Facts. And I definitely agree with that. And the removing, like, that is something that's not talked about enough, but it is extremely helpful. And it's a challenge, man. I'm not even gonna lie, because back to the, you can't see a picture when you're standing in the frame, and then just looking at ourselves. Now, Tony Robbins talks about this. The strongest force in the human personality is to remain consistent with how it defines itself.
Right.
Right. So if we define ourselves a certain type of way, it's painful for us to see the things in us that don't go along with that image.
That
So
image.
if I think I'm an honest person, or I think I'm a good man, or I think I'm self-controlled, it's hard and painful for me to look at the parts of myself where I'm not really being a good man, where I'm not really self-controlled, where I'm
Right.
not really disciplined. And
Correct.
it could create those blind spots. It's funny, man, because everything I was talking to my client about today seems to keep coming up with the RAS, the reticular activating system, right? That bundle of nerves that's sitting in the back of the brain, and it controls what we focus on, what we don't focus on, what's important versus what's not important. Because there are billions of bits of information that we're processing every single second. But consciously, we would get overwhelmed if we focused on all the stimuli. So we
Right.
can only consciously focus on around 2,000 bits of information at a time. This is why me and you both can experience the exact same situation and yet still have two completely different takeaways. And we
Right.
could be looking at each other like, how did you get that from that? And you looking at me like, how did you get that from that?
Right.
Because subconsciously we both experienced the same billion bits of information, but consciously the 2,000 bits that you're focusing on is different than the 2,000 bits that I'm necessarily focused on. So we always just got to watch what's actually going on up inside this particular mind. And really, how the RAS is programmed is by what we focus on throughout the day. So if we're spending our time, I know this is called the Uniquely Confident Podcast. If we're spending our time throughout the day constantly thinking on things about why we're not confident,
Right.
then what's going to be important to us, the only thing that we're going to be able to see in our level of awareness is things that match the image that we create.
Right.
So we're only going to be able to see circumstances that fulfill the idea of us not being confident, of us not being good. So that's why we really got to control what's going on up here. And more important than the thoughts or the words that we say is the image.
Right.
Because
Right.
anytime your image, your imagination, and the words that you say, or your internal dialogue or your desire is in conflict, your imagination is always going to win. They also call this the law of reverse effort, where this was almost like when we were in school and the pressure came in for a test, and the more we tried to think about the answers, the more the answers escaped us.
Believe
But
you.
as soon as the class is over, the test is over, you walking in the hallway, ain't no more pressure. All of a sudden, all the ideas come to you and everything like that. So that's why we want to always make sure that our emotional state is cool when we're making decisions, because when we're stressed, our executive faculties get shut off. One of our main executive faculty is the ability to be able to reason, to think, to apply logic. So that's why we make dumb decisions when we get emotional and everything like that. It's better to be able to calm down so we can think logically. But beyond that, we want to make sure that the images that we are creating in our mind actually reflect the confidence that we want to display in our real life. So one of the main reasons why affirmations don't work is because, again, there's a conflict between the desire that you're saying and the images that you're creating.
Right.
Subconscious is all imagery. That's the symbol or the language of the subconscious is images.
Mhm.
Conscious mind, though, the language of that is words.
Works. Right.
So if the words and the images in our mind don't equal up, we're going to get the image. And most of the time, unfortunately, the image that we're creating is the opposite of the words that we want. So we're saying, oh, I want to be wealthy, but yet and still the image that we create is constantly being in poverty, is our bank account being messed up, is not getting what we want, getting rejected, getting turned down, not being successful. The words that we're saying is, I'm a millionaire, I want to be successful, I'm going to do this, but the images that unconsciously we create in our mind don't necessarily reflect that. And until we can get our images in our mind to match our desire, we're going to keep getting that image. And unfortunately, most people aren't even conscious of the images that we unconsciously create in our mind. Most people don't even realize they got a self-image.
Bro. And that's where I talk about the autopilot, bro. A lot of us are literally don't understand how much of our lives we have no control over. Like, and not due to the fact that we don't have control over it, it's just that we haven't taken control of it, right?
Facts.
Like when I look at my life now compared in the last 5 years compared to the 5 years prior to that, it's like, yo, I was literally just driving my car with no hands. Like, just imagine driving down the highway and just allowing your car to just go wherever it wants. Like, wherever the car decides it's going to go, whether it's going to be into traffic, into a wall, into a truck, that's how I was living my life. Because I was allowing my life to just go wherever it wanted to. Like, it's so much, it's so freeing now. It's understanding that those thoughts that go on and that give us those mental pictures in my mind are controllable, right? Like, we can control those thoughts, but it takes the work. Right. And one thing I learned, Chris, the hardest thing in the world is to do the mental work. It's easy to do physical work, bro. Like, I can go out there right now, pick up some boulders, throw them. I can go right now, move a refrigerator, move a couch. I could probably build a house if you show me how to do it. I could physically do stuff with my hands with no problem. But when you talk about sitting down and doing the mental work, addressing the mental faculties, being able to really, really be able to express yourself, express your emotions, understanding why you feel what you feel, working through those, that right there, bro, I think is a million times harder than building a building.
Well, it's only harder just because we haven't used the muscles before. You've seen The Matrix?
Yes.
So you remember the first time in The Matrix 1 where they went to go get, they unplugged Neo from the Matrix and they went to go get him. And he's like, why do my eyes hurt? He's like, you never used them before. Rest. More answers are coming. It's the same thing with our mind because that's all a muscle too, right? So the reason why we could do so much physical stuff, we've been using our physical body our whole life. This ties back to the Willie Lynch letter where they said, train your women to be mentally strong but physically weak, and train your boys to be mentally weak but physically strong. So we good with the body because we've been using that our whole life. We can do damn near anything with it, like you said, especially if you show me. But when it comes to the mind, that muscle is completely atrophied. It's almost like being like Neo, being a full grown adult. And you like, man, why is it hurting to use this? Why is it hard to use? Because we haven't used them before. Our imagination is a muscle. Willpower, that's a muscle. Our intuition, that's a muscle. Our ability to reason, that's a muscle. Our memory, that's a muscle. All of these things are muscle. And unfortunately, especially growing up in Western society, if we grew up out East, you know what I'm saying, in India and all this stuff, we will be well versed in all this stuff. But unfortunately, again, in America, they more so just care about physical labor. So that is what we were really conditioned to do. And we were completely just told to we weren't even taught about this at all. So we was completely neglecting it. So we really got, you know what I'm saying, the mental muscles of a baby. And when you really think about how long it took you to develop the physical muscles you have now, that will give you an idea of how long it really takes to develop the mental muscles and why you gotta be so on guard once you start taking control of your mind. Because how old are you?
37.
37 years old. So how long have you been, would you say, like controlling your mind? How many years?
I would say probably the last 3, to be honest.
3 years.
It's solid.
So you got a 34-year-old version of yourself that got these thought patterns and all that. And then you got this 3-year-old you that's trying to grow and develop. If you're not consciously and deliberately guarding that 3-year-old, that 34-year-old in one step can crush that dude. And all the work that you've ever done to develop that can just go away.
Right out the window.
Right out the window. And that's what people don't realize. Like, it's a muscle. It's going to take time to develop. But then even with that, you can't get discouraged. You got to keep developing that, because the moment you be like, oh, whatever, that old you is going to crush you. And then you're going to have to basically start all over again.
Right. And I've learned that even through, like you said, through the physical body. Like I know what it's like to go and work out, get the body the way you want it to be. You give your body your all. And then you all of a sudden you look up 6 months go past, you've done nothing. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to my body? And you go start working out again, and your body is nowhere where you think it is, your mind is at. And it's
Bro, I'm
something
so sore right now. I just been in the gym the last 3 days, bro. Like I was just telling my girl, like, oh, this hurt. Like you said, you get out the gym and you got to go through the pain again. Like,
all over again. And that's what I told my mother before, because she asked me, she's like, boy, you ain't gonna stop starting no more, is you? I said, Ma, if I stop this time, it might be the last time. Because like, yo, this soreness is no joke.
and it get worse the older you get. Like,
Yeah,
oh my.
And it ain't, and what I've learned too, it ain't the next day as the older you get, it's the second day. Because you go to the gym, you're like, all right, the next day you're like, oh, I'm stiff. You're like, okay, I'm good. The next morning, waking up, you're like, oh, now I can't move. now I really need help getting out of this bed right now. What is going on? And one thing I've learned is that just tells me to do what I need to do with the time that we have. Because it's going to come to a time, bro, that our bodies is not going to listen to our brains. Facts. You understand what I'm saying? I guess it's going to come a time where you're going to tell your legs to move, and it's going to take a few seconds. It's going to take.
I was reading something, and it was talking about how the first half of your life is building habits, and the last half of your life is living off the habits that you built. Right. So it's like we got to be careful on what we build in our first half, because like you said, it gets hard to change. And actually, one of the books I was reading, it was talking about how that's why the term you can't teach old dog new tricks, where that came from, is because once a human reaches a certain age, back to the Matrix, when Morpheus was like, we typically don't free a mind after 30 because their whole life is basically built on that particular idea, and they will fight you as opposed to changing it.
Right.
So really the only way to change facts, because the only way to change once we get older, unfortunately, is trauma, is complete pain. You got to get the doctor gonna be like, hey man, you about to die, man, if you don't get your shit together. Or you know what I'm saying, you about to lose your wife or something like that. And you like, oh my God, or you about to lose your job and your livelihood financially. You like, oh my God, let me get my shit. But unfortunately, just you know what I'm saying, just on your own strength, it's hard to change once you get past a certain age. That's why it's so important. Even now, with me being 33, I'm so conscious of, all right, what happens? Because I'm getting to the age where it's like, it's about to be harder to change. So it's like, you want to make sure you got them good habits that's about to carry you through the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, bro, like the one thing I've learned, especially now as helping men develop their characters, the most important thing that you need to have is loyalty and integrity with your own self. Like, if you tell yourself you're gonna do something, bro, you gotta meet that word. You gotta meet your own word. Because one thing I even recognize in my own self, I'll lose confidence in me once I start lying to myself.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, once I'm telling myself, oh, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and then I don't do the work necessary to get that done, my self-respect and my own confidence begins to decrease, because I now am able to lie to myself and think it's okay. So, and that's why I've learned now more so, like, keeping my word, being on time, doing what I say I'm going to do. All these things are super necessary, as to your point about building these habits, because going forth in the next phase of life, like, these things are what's going to create the names that one day will just be spoken about. You know what I'm saying? Like, our names will just be spoken about, and what goes behind those names are going to be these habits that we create and do on a day-to-day basis, bro.
Facts. It's funny because I was thinking about, every year I try to think about, all right, if my life is a book and each year is a chapter, what was this chapter called? What's next year is about to be called? And when I'm thinking, it's like, next year is about to be consistency. Keep the chain going. So when you think about a chain, you know what I'm saying, I want to link, you know what I'm saying, it's all these links. And so every day is, to me, a link in the chain. And so it's like, keep the chain going. Don't break the link. Don't break the link. Don't break the link. So it's like, keep the chain going. That's what I tell myself every day with reading. Keep the chain going. Don't let a day go by where you break the chain. Consistency. You got to keep it going. So every day, even if it's just 5 pages, make sure you read every single day. Make sure you're controlling your imagination and all that stuff like that every single day. So spend 15 to 30 minutes every single day and don't break the chain, sitting there and building the image in your mind of what you actually want Chris to be. And so it's like back to what you were talking about with the consistency and showing up and doing the work. It's like that's my mantra for 2022. Don't break the chain. Keep the chain going. What would you say yours would be?
Yo, and as you sitting there, I was thinking to myself, like, yo, so last year's chapter would have been learning me for real, right? If I was going to put a title for last year's chapter, it would be learning me for real. And this coming year going forward is going to be intentionality, like intentional, being intentional with each and every area of my life, like to the point where, shout out to our business coach Donnie Wiggins, like
Shout out Donnie.
yeah, man. And today's her birthday, as a matter of fact, bro. So,
Is it?
yeah, definitely reach out to her. Today I looked up and realized, like, oh shoot, today she turned 43. So shout out to the homie, man. And what she did for me was show me her calendar one day, right? She was like, yo, you know how intentional I am about my life? I have it down to the hour. I even have my schedule down to when I would take my breaks. Like, you have to be intentional about everything you do. And I didn't realize how important that was until these last few months. And I've even done down to my calendar. I've color coded my calendar to where my coaching sessions, they're lined up with my recording sessions. They're lined up with, and then my family time is scheduled in, and then my personal time. Like, after this podcast is over, I have an hour of my own time before I go to bed. So that's where I relax, I reflect, I release, and I'm able to get in my own space to rest. So everything down to almost to the minutes are calculated for in the day. And now I feel this momentum that has literally taken me out of that negative space I was in into this phenomenal energy that I feel like is going to take me going forward into the next year. And it's so much, it's so powerful that even my clients have asked me, yo, what's happened in the last few weeks? Right? Like, what's happening to you in the last few weeks? And the truth of the matter is, I've just been more intentional about each and every waking hour I have in my day. So
no, that makes perfect sense. And even I can't remember who said it, but one of my mentors had told me this poem where he was saying, my fault, I'm texting Donnie, happy birthday. Where it said, time by the minute slips away. First the hour, then the day. Small the daily loss appears, but soon it'll all amount to years. Time by the minute slips away. First the hour, then the day. Small the daily loss appears, but soon it'll all amount to years. And that, ever since he said that, bro, I committed that to memory, and that like rings in my mind, like, all right, this little time, it seemed like, oh, just an hour got away from me, but that'll stack up, and then you be like, damn, this whole year got away. Damn, this whole decade got away from me. Damn, my whole life then got away from me. So constantly just keeping that, literally, bro, because when we look at older people, when we talk to older people, like I'll talk to my mom, love her to death, but she'll say that. She's like, damn, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? You'll look up and you just, you know what I'm saying? You 50 something.
right.
Like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you just so focused on just taking care of your kids and doing all this other stuff. And it's like, how are you really spending your time? You know what I'm saying? What are you really doing? Are you complacent? Are you cool? Or are you constantly progressing? That's why one of the main things, it's funny because a lot of dudes come to me for a whole bunch of stuff, and it all centers back, regardless of what a person is dealing with. When it comes to a man, if you not on your purpose,
yeah, there
you
you go.
got all different types of issues going on in life, bro. You got all different types of issues. But when you go on your purpose, bro,
You're susceptible to everything when you're not on it. Like,
bro,
it's like your purpose protects you. Like, shout out to Miles Monroe. Like, he said
facts.
that in so much of his content. Like, your purpose truly protects you from the nonsense that you're susceptible to when you're not on your purpose. Like,
Facts.
my mother used to tell me all the time, an idle mind is the most dangerous thing in the world.
Facts.
To be idle. Like, and I've learned that too, just by being in the street. Like, yo, moving around, selling drugs and doing what I was doing, I never got in trouble when I was going from a distance to a specific location to go do something and come back. Never had an issue. It was only when I decided to just hang out, chill, do nothing, not have a specific destination to go, to where bad things seem to happen. And that always goes back to mine. It's like, yo, whenever I'm sitting idle and not doing something, right, in my purpose, doing what I'm designed to do, which is to create. When I'm not creating something, I'm susceptible to nonsense. I'm open to people coming to me with garbage, dumping their garbage on me, and me then diving into it and becoming part of it. I realized all that happens when I'm not in my purpose.
Facts.
You know what I'm
Not on
saying?
your assignment. Facts.
That's a fact.
That's why I tell people, you know what I'm saying? Anytime you overindulging in pleasure, it's because you don't feel like your life got meaning. But the
Right.
moment, that's why I always go back to the Lion King example, because shout out to Jordan Peterson for breaking that down, where he was like, you know what I'm saying? Simba go off into the jungle in the woods and he kicking it with Timon and Pumbaa and all that. And what is it? Kuna Matata, no worries, no responsibilities, just live and have fun and just be happy and all that stuff like that. Then he bumps back into Nala. He realizes her and she like, yo, you over here just being a bum. You got a responsibility. You got Pride Rock. And you know what I'm saying? You got people that need you. And it was that kind of like shocking thing that kind of got him going back to be like, no, rewrite. Like, you know what I'm saying? My life is about responsibility. It ain't about pleasure. That's why I like when Will Smith, it was a couple, maybe a year ago, he did an interview with Tidal, and he was talking about how when he was younger, he used to think that happiness was all pleasure. So he
Mm,
was trying to get as much pleasure as possible. But then as he started to get older, he realized that if you have too much pleasure, you're not about to get happiness. Happiness is really peace. And
right.
peace comes from responsibility. Peace comes from doing a whole bunch of things that are not pleasurable. And so it's like a meaningful life comes from being responsible. Kids, that gives you a meaning. Your purpose, that gives you meaning. All these things, your wife, all these things are a great responsibility.
Correct. Correct.
And that's the only thing that really will give us a deep feeling of meaning. And it's funny because many of us try to run from responsibility, and that running from responsibility leads to nihilism, which is hopelessness, purposelessness, um, meaninglessness. When you feel that about your own life, it leads to self-destructive behaviors. So you
Right.
engage in crime, you engage in sex, you engage in all these other things because you don't really feel like you have a reason for existing. You don't feel like your life matters. But when you feel like your life matters, you don't experience that nihilism. You don't experience those self-destructive tendencies because you realize I have to be here. I matter. And when you view yourself as that, back to the image, when
Right.
you view yourself as that, like you said, it protects you.
Right. And let me tell you something before we get up out of here. The one thing that has really protected me over the last couple of years is not just about my purpose, but it's how I see myself. Right. Like going back to that whole the reticular, when it comes down to when you have a certain image of yourself, if you don't like that image, that's when the work has to begin. Like I didn't like who I seen myself as almost 5 years ago. I realized I was in a bad mental space. I wasn't doing what I knew I was supposed to be doing, and I felt like there was something more for me. And like when you add those things together and you're not making the progress, that's when you're like depression will start seeking in there. That's when the negative things that start causing you to like want to cause yourself to do harm or commit crimes and all those things, because like you said before, you don't feel worthy to be here. But once you start understanding that you are worthy and you belong here, and you have a different outlook about what your worth is on this earth, then you show up differently for yourself. And this is like the basis of both of our works, is helping men to be able to see themselves differently in their own vision. Like it's not about how we see anybody else. This is the tagline to this podcast. Confidence is not about how I see you. It's about how you see yourself. Like me seeing you and what I think of you is pointless if you don't see the same image. If you see something that's derogatory and negative about yourself, and I praise you all day, it's futile. It's pointless because it's never going to work for you how I see you. But the moment in time that you pick up the better view of yourself, or you change the outlook of your own personal life, your standards of what you're standing on, and even then, like you said before, not running away from responsibilities and embracing those, that's when you'll actually find the peace that we talked about earlier. That's when you'll start finding the happiness and the joy to be able to want to move forward and go on and not end your life and not put yourself in compromising positions. Man,
Facts. Let me add to that real quick, where you were saying that you could big a person up all day, but if they don't see themselves like that, then it almost means nothing. Like Bob Proctor has a saying that's another one that always stuck with me. He said, "I'm not what I think I am.
mm,
I'm not what you think I am, but I am what I think you think I am."
Wait a minute. Wait. Say
So
that one more time.
I'm not what I think about myself.
Okay.
I'm not what you think about me,
Correct.
but I am what I think you think about me. Right.
Oh.
So for instance, I remember I would always have this thing like anytime I was around people and they lost something, I would just sit still and I wouldn't move because I'm like, I don't want them to think, you know what I'm saying, that I
Right.
did it. I want them to think I so I'm like, and then I had to shift that because I'm like, when Bob said that I'm not what I think I am, I'm not what you think I am what you think, what I am what I think you think I am. So I'm like, for some reason, I think that these people think
Yeah,
that
you're
I'm a thief.
right.
Like, what the fuck? I think that these girls think I'm not attractive. They didn't say that. I'm thinking that. I'm projecting that onto them. So back to the imagination. We want to watch what we project onto people because what you think people think you are,
That's what
that's really your self-image.
Yo, Chris, that's fire. Like, yo, because it's especially the analogy about the feeling. Yo, so check this out. I've been in so many situations where someone's lost something, and I'm looking so hard to try to prove to them that I'm gonna help them find it because I don't want them to feel like I took it. And I'm like, why do I have this obscene urge to prove to them I didn't do this, right? Like knowing damn well I had nothing to do with their
I've been
loss.
sitting here the whole time. Like, I ain't moved. And I don't want to move until they find it. I'm like, I don't want to go to the bathroom. I don't want to do nothing. Like,
It's so crazy. I'm so glad you said that just now because I for so long I felt like I was the only one in with that kind of thought process of like, something goes missing. My first thought is like, oh, I didn't do it. I hope they don't think I did it. You know what I mean? Like that's my first thought. It's like, but wait a minute, I hadn't even been in a situation where I could have taken it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that right there just was just so freeing when you said that, bro. Because like,
and that applies to our coaching.
mm-hmm.
So now we got different beliefs, but you know what I'm saying? We both do high ticket sales. So it's just like when we first started, again, we not what we think we are. We not what they think we are. We are what we think they think. So we're scared to say our prices because what? We're projecting. They ain't even said nothing yet. We ain't even gave them the opportunity to say no, but we project onto them. Oh, well, you ain't really worth all that. Or do you even got the credentials? Would you really? They ain't even said that. Again, that's how we view ourselves. That's why when Bob said that, I'm like, damn, that is probably the most accurate thing about a self-image I've ever heard. Because we can all be like, I'm this, I'm that, but that ain't really what it is. Them secret thoughts that come when other people are around that you don't communicate to them and that they don't communicate to you, but you just put onto them. Mm-hmm. That lets you know the real work that you got to start doing.
Let me tell you, it's that right there is gonna have me on a frenzy for the rest of the night. Like, because like, it's so real, bro. Like you're not really what you think you are. You're that image of the person. You're the image that you're trying to portray to someone else. Like, however you're trying to be seen is what you really are. Like, that concept is mind blowing to me right now, Chris.
It's facts. And that's why I was saying where most people, we don't even realize the actual image that we have. Most people think like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is my particular self-image, but you would really be surprised what you really associate with yourself. That's why it's good to have a coach, because with coaches, we talk and then we're like, hey, did you notice this about yourself? Did you notice that you keep associating yourself with this? Did you notice that you keep, because again, back to it's hard to see the picture when you're standing in that frame.
And this is why, like, in this episode, I knew it was gonna be a dope. And I threw the questions out the window because, when we come together, it's like I learned so much from our dialogue because we're both coaches in this space, and truth of the matter is, iron sharpens iron. So when I hear you speak about the books, and then I hear you bring in analogies, and it hits home, it's like, this is what it's all about. And I'm so glad this is recorded. Like, I felt like we had a hour conversation, not thinking about nobody else involved in it, but there was so much value packed in here, bro. As always, I want to say super, super, super thanks to you, bro, for coming on this platform and dropping the value that you did, bro. So do me a favor and let the people know how they can find you and how they can be active if they need to contact you, bro.
Y'all can definitely go to my YouTube channel, the Mcbride Institute. If y'all go to my YouTube page, there is a button for a free consultation. So y'all can, jump on a call with me. We can see, whether I have the skills to resolve whatever issue that you have. That's what the whole hour consultation is for. So I don't believe that, I got the answers for everything, but I do got the answers for a lot. So, that free consultation is me just kind of doing a lot of information gathering so I can really have a great understanding of the problems and the issues that you're facing. And then from there, we will determine whether I'm a good fit and whether you're a good fit for us working together. So you can check out the YouTube channel, the Mcbride Institute, drop a lot of different content, reaction videos, but really a lot of different things on mind development, healing, personal development, character development, things of that nature. And then y'all can also check me out on Instagram at I am Chris Mcbride.
And listen, as you guys have seen throughout this entire hour, this man is full and he's a wealth of information and knowledge. You will be doing yourself a deep and a grave injustice by not contacting and following up with this king. Ever since I've met him, each and every time we've come in contact, I have been enlightened, enriched, and also built up. So trust me when I tell you, it's about being in the right environment and knowing the right people to help you, not just nurture who you are, but also help you become the better person that you're trying to become. And let me tell you something, there's nothing better than having someone on your team that can help you move you forward. And let me tell you right now from experience, I have done nothing but in the last 3 years of my life, have a team of people around me that does nothing but cater and nurture the man that I'm not being currently, but the man that I'm trying to become. So because of that, Chris, I appreciate you, bro. As always, thank you so much, my brother. You've come through and you've graced this platform and done the thing that you do.
I appreciate you as well too, bro. And definitely iron sharpens iron, because you were the first one to, close a high ticket client and all that stuff like that. And like you said, we talk. So you talking to me about that and all that, that inspired me. Now I got 3 of them. So I'm like, but I don't think that I would have really push myself to get another one if it wasn't for that iron sharpening iron, like really getting that first one. Because I remember, the idea of charging what we charge to coach, that was intimidating. Back to the whole, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I'm what you think I. So it's like, I was so nervous to like thousands, thousands to, I was nervous, but then your success story, I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. We own this because we started together. So I was like, oh yeah. We could do this. We could. And like I said, I didn't got 3. And now it's like the confidence is there. So it's just like, I don't even sweat when I say the price now. Like I do the consultation and I'm like, hey, it is what it is. And I really expect people to be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, me too. And it's so crazy. Like I was just telling Donnie the other day, I was like, I've gotten to the point where saying the price is not even, it flows in conversation to where I didn't even know I said it. Even the highest ticket, like for the year consultation, it's like, well, no problem. Like, oh yeah, it's 10 bands, no problem. Right now, in the midst of where I used to pause, I used to look away. I used to try to
do that the swallow. You know what I'm saying? A little throat.
Look away, man, tickling. Huh? What you say? No, okay. try to do something to get myself out of that uncomfortable situation, but
let the sweat be formulating, hoping they're not looking at your forehead because you don't want to wipe and bring attention to it. You like yeah, bro. It was them times.
Yo, but like now we sit here and we're laughing back about it, and like that as we close out, I'm gonna say this. My mentor just texted me something that fits in perfectly right here. He said, "Stop stressing about this moment that you're in. Because the truth of the matter is, 6 months ago, you were worried about this very moment that you're living in, and you're not even worried about it." I was like, word. Like 6 months ago, I was completely worried about this present moment. Like, what am my bills gonna be paid? Am I gonna have all this money? Like my clients, and literally 6 months ago, I was petrified about December. So I was like, yo, am I gonna be able to withstand this lifestyle, this entrepreneurship, or I'm gonna have to go back and get a job? Like those are my fears and my thoughts. And here I am now in this moment. I'm not even nowhere near looking at a job. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and just to think that if I control the thought process that I have right now, the next 6 months will be phenomenal. because it'll only be a collective sum of everything that we're doing right now to get where we're going.
Facts. And the price is gonna keep going up because we keep developing and all that. So I was telling people years ago when I was in college, hey man, y'all better get me now because you know what I'm saying? And now you know what I'm saying, people see what I give. I remember when I was getting $100 a month, bro, to coach people, and I was just like, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was something at a time, but I was telling people back then, man, y'all better get the. So now, you know what I'm saying? The price that went up, you know what I'm saying? 7-9x, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, still telling people,
yeah,
y'all better get it before the price go up because this time next year it could definitely double. So
yeah, and it's all about too what I've learned, and the reason why I'm so confident in pricing. And now it's not about the information because you can get that anywhere,
Facts.
right? It's about the application and it's about the transformation. Like those two things is why the price is what it is. Like when you think about this, if somebody can offer you a product that's going to help you do something that's going to take somebody else 10 years to do and get you to do in 2, you don't think that whatever that person's price is worth it? It's cutting off time, right? And that's what we do as coaches. We help you with the curve. Like your learning curve is shortened when you have a coach in your life. Because trust me when I tell you, our business coach, shout out Donnie Wiggins and Dave Shands, have shortened our learning curve to get us where we are right now compared to where we started at. Had we with that, if we didn't have them, we would not be where we are right now.
Facts. Yeah, Donnie and Dave. Shoot, I was actually gonna get a bracelet that said, "What would Donnie and Dave do?" Just to keep my mind going as far as how they would think and all that stuff like that. But nah, that's complete facts. And it's just like when you like one of the things that my client was telling me because he paid me in full for our whole little thing, and that was the first one that actually paid in bulk the full price. So it was like, but I was talking to him about sexual transmutation. He was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I read books on it, but I just couldn't connect. And I'm like, it's because of the language and all that stuff. But when I'm talking to you, because I'm cultured, I can make it in a way that's relatable to you and that's interesting to you. And so that is technically what people are paying for. Because like you said, you can get a book anywhere and read it, but is it going to connect?
Right.
That is really what they pay us for, make the connections and all that, because that's what's going to create the change. Again, head knowledge ain't going to do nothing. Connections are in the subconscious. If you change the subconscious, you change a person's life. And so that's really where the high ticket comes from, because again, you can spend your whole life trying to change this, but keep in mind, you only spend 5% of your time up there. 95% of our time is in that subconscious. So, you know what I'm saying? That's where my work is doing that subconscious work. And then again, it's just like, what would people would be like, what would you charge for a man for his freedom when they were talking about drug dealers getting a drop on when the feds was going to do a raid on them and all that? What would a man pay for his freedom? I look at the same thing, but emotional freedom. You know what I'm saying? What is your emotional freedom really worth to you? Would you rather spend life in this emotional jail?
It's emotional incarceration. Wow.
Yes. Or would you like this freedom? And if you want the freedom, what is that worth to you?
Have you read the book Battle Cry by James?
I haven't.
Bro, get it. Get that book. I told every man, and if you go back to any podcast, you can probably hear me talk about this book. Bro, the first chapter is called Emotional Incarceration. Mind blowing. Like when this man expressed our inner thoughts as a man on paper in a way that a lot of us could never articulate. And then like he showed us through his own life experiences how his emotional incarceration cost him so many experiences in his life with the people he loved, about not being able to be emotionally available, about only coming out in emotional incarceration on holidays or birthdays or in certain situations. But as soon as those situations are over, going back into that incarceration cell, that emotional cell again. Oh man. When I tell you this book it helped me free me, bro, especially in my relationship with my wife. Like subconsciously, for some reason or another, us black men, we get, and it doesn't matter who we get involved with, the woman we get involved with automatically are battle with. And that's, I've learned in doing some research, is that it's not to our own doing. So check this out. From a child, when you fall and you hit the floor, nobody really cared. The same day and the same hour, the next street over, a little girl falls, everyone paid attention. our subconscious picked that up. So now we're in competition. You realize how many men are truly in competition with women? That's almost scary, but it's not conscious. It's subconscious because we've lacked the emotional concern that we need as human beings. We've lacked that growing up as individuals. So all this time we've been competing to have the same kind of love and emotional connection with people as our counterparts, which are our women, have had their entire lives. So we get into relationships and now we're competing rather than thriving together. And that's why we have all this domestic violence happening, because the truth of the matter is we're competing where we're supposed to be loving and having a mutual life going forward. And I had to learn that myself. It's like, yo, my wife is not here to combat me. She's here to help me.
Facts.
I had to really tell myself that, bro, on a consistent basis, to break that thought process that I had of competing with her.
No, that's facts, bro. And I love the transparency. And that's a beautiful thing when it comes to that battle cry. I definitely got to get that. I'm actually order it tonight, because that emotional incarceration, that's serious. I remember, and I'll be transparent too here. You know what I'm saying? This was probably a couple months ago, but I remember, like, I always tell my son I love him, you know what I'm saying? Like, verbalize it. But before I was verbalizing it, I was always like, hold my hand on her stomach, and I would just be like saying it in my head. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, but I had a hard time for some reason verbalizing it at first. And luckily, I'm very self-aware. So I was peeping it, like, why is it hard for me to get this out? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? To my son. Granted, he's not here yet, he's still in the womb, but nonetheless, I'm like, why is it challenging for me to verbalize it? I'm
Right.
thinking it like crazy, like, oh, I love you, son. Da, da, da. But for some reason, saying it's a challenge. And it took a while for me to like get comfortable saying it. Now, granted, I was still telling them every day, but I'm talking about as far as being comfortable verbalizing, it was a challenge. And I don't even know why, but it was just hard. Like, so that was a thing that I had to overcome, which is just getting comfortable telling my son that I love him. I don't even know why that was a challenge, but just, and even like my girl's mom commented on one of my pictures and all that stuff, like, oh, I love y'all so much. And it's hard for me to say that back for some reason. And I don't know why,
Right.
but I do know that when you said emotional incarceration, that fits for sure.
Yeah.
So I definitely know I need to read that too.
Let me tell you, bro, like and everyone who's read that book, because let me tell you, it is now a mandatory read for every man that I coach. I know Mr. Jason Wilson has like an influx of people buying this book from my side of the world, because literally every man that comes to my program, when he buys the high ticket, he doesn't realize it, but he purchases his book, because that lays the foundation so we can now really start working. Once we get past his entire book, bro, I believe it's 10 to 11 chapters. Phenomenal. Each and every one of his chapters are based from the Bible, and he gives you places to go back and reference. And then he gives you spaces after in each chapter to reflect and really see your life in that chapter. I mean, when I tell you, it helped me as a man, and I now use it as a tool to help every man that I coach, bro. So I tell you, it's going to help in tremendous ways, bro. I can guarantee that.
I'm gonna check that out. I'm actually a huge fan of his. That's some of the reaction videos that I react to. That's like the style of videos that I react to, is content like that. So as soon as you said Jason Wilson, I'm like, oh, I know, buddy. Like in battle crime, like I'll be seeing him post all. So I definitely got to get it for sure.
Oh yeah, that's the one book I would say has helped me in the last 3 months with dealing with my emotions and learning how to. Because one thing I've really learned, bro, is that on each level it comes with another level of awareness. And when you have that level of awareness, you don't just have that level of awareness on that level. You can now see the prior levels from a different perspective. And it was like, oh, I didn't know I was off that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't realize that way of thinking was not the right thought process. Now realizing in hindsight that that's what's cost my wife some of the headaches that she went through. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now with this level of awareness, it comes with greater responsibility to not let those things weigh me down, but allow me to build me up to go forward and be a better man. Because within these last 3 months, bro, I had a spell where those things were pulling me down and sucking my energy from me, because I was allowing my mental to go through those ups and downs without being based upon understanding my strengths and my forward progress. I was stuck. You hear me? Stuck for like 2 weeks of just pure downward spiral thought process about I'm not being enough, not being adequate as a man, not being able to provide. This business is not working the way I thought it was. Because like you said, I had early success in this business. Bro, in the middle of October, I had not had a client in over a month at that point. When I tell you I was having all kinds of thoughts that was taking me, I'm talking about for a complete spin to where I didn't feel even worthy to be my kid's father. I said to myself, wait a minute, this is doing too much. And it was only because I allowed myself to go down those emotional turns without knowing and being grounded in what I know about myself. And that's what I really was able to pour into my guys recently about, it ain't about nothing else but what you know about you. I don't care about the world at large. It's about what do you know about you? And are you standing on that?
Facts.
Right? Because you can say what you want, but are you standing on your principles about who you are? Are you living throughout those principles? Throughout a daily 24-hour basis, are you living the chemical makeup of your principles? And that's what I had to get back to myself. So I feel rejuvenated. I feel protected now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because I know protection and control is an illusion, but I feel protected because I feel like I'm over engulfed in my purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing in my life, man. So I'm in a great space right now. I'm appreciative to the Most High, and I'm appreciative to people like you in my circle, bro, that continues to move on, because what we don't realize is that I draw energy from seeing you keep going forward, right? I draw energy from seeing people in my circle continue to move forward. So when I see you still being active on social, when I see you creating podcasts and doing what you're doing, it feeds me. It gives me the energy. So once again, I want to say thank you for doing what you do. Keep doing what you're doing, because believe it or not, I'm looking at you. I'm drawing energy from you, and I'm using the energy that you give to the world, bro. So
that's likewise, bro. That's definitely likewise too. Iron sharpen iron, bro.
No doubt, my brother. So listen, we have sat here and chopped it up, guys. I appreciate anyone who has checked this out and been with us throughout this entire podcast. It has blessed my life, so I know for a fact it's going to bless yours. This has been another dope episode of the Uniquely Confident Podcast. And check this out, guys. Y'all know I give it up. Confidence is all about how you see yourself. But until the next time we see you, be good to yourself and the ones around you. And if you can't be good to those people that are around you, do yourself a favor. Get those folks around you. This is RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman, and this has been the Uniquely Confident Podcast. Be blessed, because we will. Peace out.